Everybody wants that expensive $320 hockey stick, but nobody wants to spend $320. This is pretty much where it all began. I'll actually show you the little tiny unit that we literally used to work out of. It's literally gotten to the point where I have no more wall space to display anything at all. And this is where it ended. Something happened from a company named Bauer Hockey, as well as CCM Hockey, several months ago that literally changed my life and several other people's forever. This is the story of how Bauer Hockey ruined my business and several thousand other people's businesses. This is something that's been happening for a while now. I personally feel as if stories like this need to be shared more. People need to not have any fear and be able to talk about stuff like this. And just so that way it changes the industry. There's some stuff that's happening right now in the hockey industry that I'm finding ridiculous, unreasonable, and should not be happening. But we'll get to the story of what happened in just a minute. So the reason why I'm making this documentary, film, video, whatever it is that you want to call it, is that I feel that I have a moral obligation to do what is right and to do what's right for other people who've had this happen to them. I feel as though I've given Bauer Hockey enough opportunity to deal with this quietly. Unfortunately, they decided not to do so, and now this is how I'm getting the story out. I've been in contact with the company themselves. I've reached out to them, emailed them, spoken with, their legal team, their sales reps, things like that, and unfortunately, they just decided that they weren't going to deal with it properly. And that, like I said, this is not only for myself, but this is for the thousands of people who have been impacted by this company over the past several years. So my story itself starts back in 2012 when I decided to go into the sporting goods industry. We started out with jerseys. We bought, a few here and there. It kind of kept growing. We eventually decided to open up a little tiny shop. I swear to God, this place was no bigger than 400 square feet. It was literally a hole in the wall. But you know what? It was ours, and it was something that we worked extremely hard for. So from there, we decided to go into the hockey industry. I saw an opportunity, I saw a need out there. I already had one of the suppliers lined up because, of course, I sold jerseys. They also sold hockey equipment themselves, so I linked up with them. I got my accounts set up, reviewed by Bauer. Everything was great, and we kind of just started from there. We started very modestly, to be honest with you. I think our first order was maybe like 10 units of just random things, helmet, elbow pads, shoulder pads, a pair of skates, a couple of sticks, something like that. But over time, it gradually kept growing and growing and growing and was getting bigger and bigger. And honestly, our 400 square foot little hole in the wall wasn't big enough to cope with the amount of inventory that we had at this point. This is pretty much where it all began. I'll actually show you the little tiny unit that we literally used to work out of. Right here. Now it's obviously something else, but tiny little 400 square foot unit. And yeah, just to show you that, we literally slaved out of this place for a while until we were able to move into a place that was better. Obviously, we did share the back part of the unit, so that was not accessible really to us. But the funny thing was that a lot of the times there was no heat during the winter, there was no AC during the summer, so you were either freezing cold or dying of sweat. But just to give you an example of a little bit of the hard work that had to go into this place. So from there in 2018, we decided we needed a bigger place. I think it was in September of 2018, we decided we were going to move out from our little tiny hole in the wall and find a larger retail space, something that would suit our needs and obviously something that we could definitely grow into. Before moving into this shop in November, which was a much larger, I think it was about 1,500 square feet, much larger unit, more retail minded. It was obviously out more into the public versus what we had before was more like an industrial little tiny place. But anyway, so from there we did contact Bauer Hockey. We eventually got in touch with one of their sales reps. At that time, unfortunately, he wasn't really even interested in looking at us, to be honest with you. We told him what we wanted. We told him our intentions, that we essentially wanted to do business directly with Bauer Hockey themselves, as well as wanted an opportunity to go into the elite program, so that way we can have the higher end products available for our customers, which only made sense. We also told him that we had intentions of spending literally boatloads of cash. Like, we had investors backing us that were willing to give us millions of dollars as long as we can get into the right products, get the sales going, stuff like that. And we had it going. The plan was there. And this is where it ended. Literally, this unit right back here is where we ended up, and it's where our expansion started. We spent a lot of money, a lot of time getting the place ready, fixed up, moving all our inventory in, all the fixtures, you name it, we did it. And unfortunately, it just hurts a little bit to feel that it all got taken away, and that's why now I'm basically going out for revenge against Bauer. What they did, to be honest with you, wasn't right. Again, I know I keep saying it over and over again, and it might sound like I'm whining, but this is what it is, and I just don't feel like it should continue. Now, what essentially happened while I was on the phone with who we will call Kevin, he told us that when we did open the store, he got our address and that he would come by and visit us. Well, lo and behold, that never happened. So we were at this new place from November until January. Everything was going perfectly fine. We were growing, gaining new customers every single day, new people constantly walking through the door, and things were fantastic. All of a sudden, one morning, unfortunately, I was on my way to work and I got an email from one of the suppliers that essentially stated that our accounts had been closed. We could no longer buy Bauer products from them, and so on and so forth. So I finally get to the store. I don't really even know what to do about this. There wasn't even really much of a reason, at least nothing specific, just that they weren't going to do business with us anymore, which was unfortunate. Literally within a couple of hours, we got a second email from our second distributor, who was Groupie Hockey, who basically had the same email from Bauer that we also were not going to be able to buy Bauer products from them. Now, at this point, you can imagine my head is literally spinning. I have no specific answers as to what happened, why we can't buy product from them anymore. Just nothing really made sense. Now, the thing you need to understand is that when you're a small retailer in the hockey industry, you can't really buy the products directly from Bauer or CCM or even any of the other companies. Unfortunately, you have to go through distribution, which is totally fine, but that also limits your options on the Bauer side. You can't buy the elite product. For whatever reason, they only want certain sellers to be able to have their highest end products, which I think is bullshit, but it is what it is. At this point, I pick up the phone, I call Bauer Hockey, I'm talking to customer service reps. I'm eventually forwarded over to the head of their customer service here in Mississauga in Ontario. They finally forwarded my message over to one of their reps, or I think their regional sales manager, whatever he is. We'll call him Ben for now. But essentially this went on for several weeks where I'd constantly have to keep calling them back. They're telling me somebody will call me. Of course, no one's ever calling. I got fed up. I called them finally one more time and I said, listen, if you don't get somebody on the phone right now, I'm going to be calling my lawyer and there's going to be a serious problem here. So of course, within maybe about 24 hours, Ben contacted me back. We had a conversation, and he told me that, of course, again, their vision has changed, whatever that's supposed to mean. I'm pretty sure I do know what it means, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. So he essentially told me that he didn't want us to sell online, he didn't want us to have access to elite products, we couldn't advertise cheaper, which essentially means that we're not allowed to be able to be competitive. Because realistically, if you look at it, the biggest problem with a lot of these smaller retailers, The biggest problem, realistically, if you look at it, is that with the smaller retailers, the problem is that customers don't really know that you exist. So if you can't really advertise even $1 cheaper to get a customer in the door, they'll probably never even really know that you're there, essentially. So it's kind of like, of course, everybody's going to go to these bigger retailers that are well known, that are everywhere, that, you know, they've already got their well-established customer base. So it's like, what the hell? How are we supposed to compete with these guys, right? I've asked so many people, and it's like, realistically, unless we were to advertise cheaper, would you ever even know or come into the store? And of course, 99.9% of the time, the answer is no. I feel that customers need to be incentivized, obviously, to come into the store altogether. So why should I not be allowed to compete with these larger retailers, right? Anyway, so the conversation pretty much went nowhere. Ben told me that he would show up with Kevin within a couple of days. He gave me a date and a time when they were both supposed to show up to the store, and that was that. They were going to come and talk to us. We were going to explain to them and show them how we do business, and show them what our vision for our future was, and how we were going to grow, and how, you know, Bauer was going to be the biggest part of that puzzle. Well, unfortunately, that day came. No one ever showed up. Pretty much at the end of the day, I got a text message that said, oh, sorry, we couldn't make it because our schedule couldn't handle it, but we'll talk in a few days. So of course I had to wait again, and it took like another, I'm gonna say a good week and a half before I finally heard back. They told me that they'd call me, which eventually they did, and we had this conference call that again went pretty much nowhere. And the biggest issue over the phone was the fact that why are all these larger companies like Pro Hockey Life, Sport Check, National Sports here in Canada, I know there's other companies in the United States, but why are they the only ones getting everything? Why are we being overlooked? We're not even being given an opportunity to compete. I'm offering you millions of dollars and they won't even talk to us. That's a huge problem. I don't know if you guys see that as a problem, but in my eyes, that's definitely a massive problem. I also pointed out the fact that why do these guys, when they make a mistake or when they advertise a little bit cheaper or discounted products just a little bit, how come they only get a slap on the wrist and we're the ones who get our accounts completely shut down? And a lot of the times, a lot of the answers to these questions were no comment and this and that, and they just didn't want to state anything, and it just essentially went nowhere. So of course, at the end of the day, without Bauer backing us up, showing us some support, some love, unfortunately, we had to close our doors, and that was it. That was the end of our business. A 7-year-long run, just with a Thanos snap of the fingers, gone, right? To me, it's not fair. Now, the issue is that this is not only happening to me, and if you were to ask Bauer, you talk to their sales reps, their customer service, they will all tell you the exact same thing. And it's almost as if they're proud to say that they've closed literally thousands of accounts. They've told me this over the phone, believe it or not, that they've closed thousands of accounts. Think about that for a second. That is literally thousands of people who have worked their butts off, hard-working people who've slaved like myself 7 days a week, 14-hour days to build their company up, to have it all taken away. After we inevitably closed our doors, because obviously we just couldn't stay in business anymore without a supply chain or products to sell, I decided that I didn't even want to keep the products that I had left over, and I told Bauer, like, hey, take this stuff back. And of course, they said no. They decided they weren't going to take the product back, and I had to kind of deal with it on my own. Well, I mean, they didn't say no completely, but they tried to basically force their suppliers to take the products back. You have to remember that a lot of these suppliers are not massive companies, so the responsibility should realistically not be on them. At this point in time, it's kind of like, if you're the one who's going to go around closing thousands of accounts, then you should be able to back yourselves up and take the product back from the people who were selling it for you. And if you don't like us selling it, take your shit back. Like, what do you want me to do with it? Right? So of course I've been stuck with this stuff for months, since, beginning of February, since we closed. And so recently I reached out to Bauer Hockey again, because at this point I've decided that if you're going to take my business away, you should take responsibility for your own actions and compensate us for what we deserved. You literally took away our future. 7 years of hard work. I had a lot of stuff going for me. We had a lot of things going on in the business. We had big plans that literally all got taken away. So I told them that I wanted a certain amount of money that would compensate us and take care of us and keep this whole story under wraps. Unfortunately, they decided not to go with what we wanted and only said that out of goodwill, they'll take their product back, which realistically at this point 5 months later to me is literally a slap in the face. Like, that is simply not good enough. It is disrespectful to me, who literally asked you months ago to take this stuff back, and now that I'm demanding money out of you and pointing out what you did wrong, now you're gonna tell me that you're willing to take my product back? No. Too late for that. Now let's get into a little bit of the technical side of things and how they do business, how they operate, so you guys have a better understanding of why I am pissed. The issue here is that when we opened our business, we had to go through an application process to get approved by the distributors and get approved by Bauer Hockey to be able to sell their products. There was no real rules given to us. They knew exactly what we were doing. They knew that we were selling online, and they knew our intentions, right? To go around all of a sudden a year and a half later and literally say, no, we don't like the way you're doing business, so we're literally just going to cut you off right at the legs. It's just ridiculous if you ask me. Like, I don't understand how a company like that could just go behind people's backs. I didn't even get a phone call to say that there was a problem. They just literally went behind our backs to the distributors and closed our accounts. And we literally were stuck there stranded. We had customers' orders that needed to be filled, and of course we couldn't do anything with it because there was no way to order Bauer products. Now, the other thing is that it's pretty obvious that they're only looking out for their big retailers, the guys who are well established, have millions upon millions of dollars. And the funny thing here in Canada is that the 3 main companies that sell in Canada, at least within the vicinity of where I live, are all owned by the same company. That is starting to look like quite a bit of a monopoly, if you ask me. You're giving only rights to one company to sell your products in the entire region of Brampton, Mississauga area, and countless other areas too. My questions are, why exactly, if other companies are allowed to buy their elite products, purchase directly from them, how come we're overlooked? How come we don't even get an opportunity to have a chance to speak, to tell you how we're doing business? And so now the ultimate kicker, so the day that we were packing up the store, we were dismantling everything, packing up all of the last bit of our products, ready to move it onto the truck and bring it home. We get another email from our suppliers again that tell us now CCM doesn't want to do business with us. Now, CCM, I have to say, was a little bit easier to deal with. It didn't take me very long, maybe a couple of hours, to get a hold of the sales rep who closed our accounts. He explained to us that, unfortunately, hockey in Brampton somehow appears to be stagnant, which I don't understand how you can figure something like that when you only have 2 real companies selling any of your product within the city, and both of them don't even sell current lines of products majority of the time. You go into a Sport Check or the National Sports, you don't find the new product from CCM or Bauer majority of the time. So how exactly would you know that it's stagnant? And I feel like there's a growing need. There's a lot of arenas that have opened up over the years throughout the city. The population is continuously growing year after year after year, and I don't understand how you could tell me that there's no need, and how you could just literally close our accounts without even giving us an opportunity to even prove ourselves. Like, I don't understand how that works. Like, we are an established organization. You can't just be going around closing people's accounts like that. If there is a situation, you need to be upfront. You need to call us and contact us and let us know that there's an issue so that issue can be resolved. But we were never given that opportunity from either CCM or Bauer, and to be honest with you, it fucking disgusts me. So to be honest with you, this entire situation is just ridiculous, and I feel that this story needs to be shared. So that's why I'm here. I'm asking you guys to share this story, share it on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you possibly can. Like this video because it's going to help out, because I feel like this is a situation that there's a lot of mom and pop shops. We all know that when you go into small towns and the Walmarts that pop up make all the other little stores disappear. And that is exactly what's happening. The government is almost kind of letting it slide, letting it happen. And we need to get this out there so that way people know, and then this kind of shit can finally stop. I don't understand why I'm being treated so differently from all the other big stores out there. I worked my ass off for what I had. I worked 7 days a week, 14-hour days non-stop, and I felt that I had earned a little bit of respect, and that's something that I definitely didn't get from Bauer. Alright guys, so that is pretty much it for this video. Please don't forget, smash that like button. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, so you know whenever I post new videos. I know this one was kind of like a little bit of a rant, but it needed to be said, and I feel like we definitely need to do something. Alright guys, see you later.